Hunters, Hospitals, Alexandria, oh my, that was The Walking Dead Season 5, and we are here to rank every episode from that season, from 16th place all the way down to numero uno, and in 16th place, we've got episode 10. It was them, it was bad, it was the introduction of Aaron coming in with by far the lowest rating of the season with a 2 out of 10. It was in a barn, he gave them water, Rick was feeding them applesauce, it didn't do it for me.
No, it was probably the worst period of season 5 where the group are just wandering endlessly from the, I don't know, from fucking where they were at the midway point.
Atlanta.
From the hospital until they get accepted into Alexandria, I guess. It was just like 2 or 3 episodes of nothing really. Filler. Walking Dead, 100% filler at its best. Yeah, we got introduced to Aaron, but I mean, who cared? The characters were doing nothing at this point. Everyone was just moping around, feeling sorry for themselves. Wasn't a good episode, and I think it quite rightfully deserves to be last place here in our rankings.
Up next was Try, episode 15 with a 3.5 out of 10. Did they try hard enough in this one? This one was pretty much after the offence of Aiden and Noah dying. You've got a few interrogations going on. Rick then loses. I think the Rick part at the end of the episode saved it. Apart from that, man, it was poor.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty good, but the follow-up from episode 14 where we got 2 pretty big deaths, that kind of sucked.
Yeah, absolutely, because it just felt like, it almost felt like it didn't happen. Coming in 14th place, get episode 9. We've got What Happened and What's Going On. What happened in this episode? Tyrese died. They dragged it out for a full episode, and by episode 10, you forgot about him. It's almost like Tyrese never existed. Here, see this guy? It's been around 2 seasons. He was the brother of Sasha, who's a pretty main character at this stage of the game. Done. It just felt like, let's kill off a character to make people remember how dangerous on the road can be. 3.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they felt the need to kill off Tyrese when we just had a character death in the last episode, but yeah, this one for me didn't do much. Not a big Tyrese fan either. I thought his death was dumb as well, getting taken out by a kid, and then we got the hallucinations, and yeah, it just felt like an excuse to bring some people for season 4 back. I don't know what sense it made.
The governor. All that good stuff.
No, I like the governor, but
why would Tyrese imagine him?
Out of all the people you could have had imagine the governor in a flashback or whatever, I just don't think Tyrese was that guy.
Yeah, I don't think he was that guy, and hopefully we could forget it. But up next is Forget. It's episode 13, if you remember. This is the episode Sasha can't forget Tyrese. She's running about in the woods, killing walkers. She tag teams with Michonne and Rosita. I do not care about this in the slightest. And you've gone got the likes of Rick, Daryl, and Carol. Oh, what we're going to do? We're going to put the Glock in the blender. Great episode, it really wasn't, but that was a 3.5 out of 10. Up next, we've got episode 7. So the first episode in the first half of the season, this one was Crossed. This came in with a 4 out of 10. Of course, essentially what this is Beth getting more pally in the hospital. She kills that detective alongside Dawn, pushes him down the elevator shaft. We got
seemed
Daryl.
A bit harsh, to be honest. I mean, was he really a bad guy? I think there was a few bad apples in there, but he didn't seem like he was one of them. He just wanted, I guess, leadership from Dawn. He didn't think Dawn was capable of leading. Then he gets pushed down an elevator shaft.
Not justified.
Even though Dawn was the one that started the physical altercation. So, yeah, I thought that was a bit strange there. I don't know why Beth backed the Dawn horse when clearly by the end of it she was like, I don't want to ride this horse anymore. I want to change.
And the officer they kidnapped knocked out Sasha at the end and ran off. We'll soon find out what happened to him. Up next, we've got episode 11 in 11th place. We've got The Distance. Essentially, I mean, we talked about how bad the Aaron episode was where he got introduced. This episode was a bit better in the terms of, well, at least we've actually got a purpose for going to Alexandria this episode. And we end up at the gate. And I thought the Walker scenes were alright. Oh, they can't go down this highway. But they did it anyway. Up next, in 10th place, we've got episode 12. This one is called Remember. Again, I mean, it's a pretty monumental episode in terms of it's the first ever episode inside Alexandria where they would spend pretty much half the show at. But again, it's like they didn't really leave an everlasting impact on you. Like, who was introduced to Alexandria that you could turn around and say it was like, oh, they were a big deal? I mean, probably the biggest character is Aaron. Because he's the one that lasts right to the end.
We already get introduced to him before we even get to Alexandria.
Yep. Again, not good. 9th place, we have got episode 6. We've got Consumed. A whole flashback episode about Daryl and Carol driving to Atlanta. And I actually can't believe this episode was fully dedicated to those two, man. Baffling. I mean, we gave it a 5 out of 10. And when I look at it, It's almost like this got a 5 out of 10 because it was in the first half of the season, which was just overall better. But when I look at this episode, I'm thinking, did we rate that too high? The 5 out of 10 too high?
I don't think it was a bad episode. I don't think it needed to be a flashback.
No. Also, I mean, the fan flying off the bridge and them sort of walking away like nothing happened.
Yeah, so the fan drops.
Your spine would be at your arse.
The fan drops at least 30 feet, and then, like, literally within 2 seconds, Daryl and Carol just get out the fan as if nothing happened. It's like, you for real? Seriously? Come on.
I know. It's ridiculous. Right, 8th place, we've got episode 4. This one is called Slab Town. Now, a lot of people would actually say this is the worst episode of the season. Came in with a 5 out of 10 from us. I think I wouldn't say it's underrated because it still is poor, but it's massively overhated.
Yeah, a bit like the one with Beth and Daryl, in my opinion, from season 4.
Yeah.
This could be the worst episode in the first half of the season, but I thought it was a hell of a lot better than a lot of the second half episodes, so yeah, it wasn't that bad. Slab Town. It was nice to see a new location.
Like, again, like what
introduced a new set of characters.
What I would say is, I'm not going to pretend that people
felt fresh.
I'm not going to say the people in the hospital, right, are a massive deal. But if you compare the people in the hospital to Alexandria, could you honestly make a big difference? I would probably say like Dawn feels like a way more important character than Deanna.
Oh, 100%. The doctor guy felt pretty important. You had a few shady cops in there.
Right.
I thought there was some decent characters in that.
Right, up next in 7th place, we have got Coda, the mid-season finale. The Gabriel part in this episode sucked where he got out and then he brought all the walkers in. Oh, he's going to get us killed. Abraham and the group arrive in time, but it's too late, damn it. Dawn has killed Beth in self-defense. The trade did not work. Dawn dies. Noah comes with the guys and it comes in at 7th place. I thought it was alright, but
very lackluster, man. We're expecting Rick to dive in here, Rick and his crew to infiltrate the hospital. I mean, nothing really happened. After Rick just killing that other police officer, he wanted to, I guess, do this without spilling any blood, which didn't make any sense to me. Like, why was he... I just don't get it. At this point, you're led to believe that Rick is willing to do anything. Yet I guess he decided, no, we're going to sneak into the hospital and kill nobody. And then the whole trade, and I just felt, Dawn adamant that Beth can't go or else she needs Noah back. I mean, like, who gives a fuck if Noah doesn't want to be there and he doesn't want to be there? It was like a dictatorship there for Dawn, and it just felt forced.
Yeah, it did feel very forced.
Although she did say people are a resource, but still.
Like, I get it. Like, Noah's not... Noah has literally been in this group for all of, 2 minutes at this stage of the game. I get it. But, like, the fact that Rick and all were just willing to let Noah go back, like he was a piece of shit in the side of the street, man, didn't bode very well for him, right? 6th place, we have got Conquer, the season finale. Again, it feels pretty slow, like episode 15, like you're pretty much 40 minutes and nothing, then it finally comes. But even the ending, I thought it was weird, like Rick is running in between the Alexandria houses, killing these walkers, or how he knows they got in, because Noah and Glenn are fighting on the outside. It just felt like forced plot points, didn't it? Like Noah and Glenn are fighting outside, everyone else is inside, then Morgan is like bumming Aaron and Daryl beside some semi-trailers and he brings them home. Rick, what are you doing?
Noah and Glenn weren't fighting outside. Noah's dead.
I know his deed. Nicholas, I know it began with an N, but again, Nicholas not really doing much for me, but I think the ending scene's alright when like Rick executes Pete and then you've got Morgan standing there, but again, 6 out of 10. 5th place, we've got episode 2, right back to the start of the season, Strangers. We've got the introduction of Father Gabriel, we've got the Hunters, staying close behind, and also Bob is captured by the remaining Terminus survivors, and his leg was getting ate at the end of the episode, and we gave it 6 out of 10, right?
Well, I think looking back, season 5 definitely peaked in the first 3 episodes.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying the first 3 episodes were great, but I think they were better than what followed.
Is that where they spent all their budget? But coming in 4th place, we've got Spent. Like that wee one. 6.5 out of 10 we gave it. This episode, I think this episode was alright. You've got Aiden dying, you've got Noah dying. 2 pretty decent deaths in terms of like how they were actually done. I'm not going to pretend the characters were massive. You had Abraham rolling about a construction site like he's Steven Seagal. It was cringe, but here at least it was funny, but that's not what they intended to do, let's be honest. Gabriel's warning Diana that Rick's group is dangerous, and then Rick comes to the realisation that to protect Jesse and Sam, he's going to have to kill Pete, because Carol told him so. Right, up next in third place, we've got episode 3. We have got Four Walls and a Roof. This got a 6.5 out of 10. Of course, in this episode, we've pretty much got the whole, showdown confrontation between the group and the hunters, where the hunters get absolutely wiped out. We've got the death of Bob and Abraham leaving a map for Rick. Sorry for being an asshole. You can follow me to Washington, boy.
Big Bob.
Big Bob. R.I.P. to Big Bob's Burgers.
You know what? It wasn't a great character, but I kind of missed Bob. I think he would have been interesting. I could probably name half of the group that I would have preferred to have died over Bob.
Yeah, Bob had something. Like, he had a comedic element to him.
I get it. Eugene can't die at this point because they need to do the whole reveal thing, but I mean, once the reveal, Eugene, I would much rather have Bob on the show than Eugene.
Yep.
I'd much rather have Bob than Tyrese. I'd much rather have Bob than Sasha. I would much rather have Bob than Carol or Maggie at this point.
See, if people heard you say that, man, they'd be like, what? What do you want?
I'd rather have Bob than Michonne.
There you go, but
I mean, fuck, I think you can make a case of you'd rather have Bob than Daryl. I do think at season 5, Daryl's just boring.
He's up Rick's ass, damn it.
I probably prefer Bob.
In the second place, we've got episode 5, Self-Help. Talking of that Eugene reveal, it came in with a 7 out of 10. Pretty much a solo episode about Abraham's group. And you know what? We actually got like a proper episode about Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita, and I thought it was handled pretty well. Can't complain. I think it's a solid ass episode.
I think looking back at The Walking Dead, Abraham's an underrated character.
Yeah.
He's better than I thought he was.
He is overrated though in the comedy department. I think he has led the... See, before Negan, he was the comedy aspect, is what people are lead you to believe.
I mean, he might be the funniest person in the group, but there's not that many funny people in the group, so it's like...
Yep.
It's not really hard. If he's the only guy cracking jokes, then it only takes a couple of good jokes for him to be like the best.
Exactly, but yeah, good episode this one. But then, number uno was uno of the season. It was No Sanctuary, coming in with a 7 out of 10. And that's our highest rated episode. I mean, I thought the horror elements in this episode were really good, but again, I think what dragged this down was the fact that Carol was the one that actually blew up Terminus, and I think some of the acting from like the termites or whatever they're called was horrendous. I
also think the quality went down after the first 15 minutes.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
I think the first 15 minutes was great. Unfortunately, I think once Rick and the group attempted to escape, that's kind of when it went downhill. It just became Rick OP with a gun, taking out walkers, taking out all the hunters. And it just became like your average, here's your Walking Dead. Rick
it did.
Takes out another group. Whereas before that, like the horror element and the fact that you felt Rick and his group were in danger of actually being eaten alive, and that I think was new, and it was like something we hadn't really seen before in The Walking Dead, but it quickly became a matter of just Rick and his group hunting down the hunters, which is kind of, I know, ironic. And I mean, that was it. But I think the first 15 minutes, like, way better than a 7.
No, it was. But I think that's the problem with The Walking Dead. I mean, we're talking about the best episode here, and only 2 got a 7.
Yeah, so...
Again, the average for the season was a 78.5... Well, not the average, sorry. I got a 78.5 out of 160, which again is below half, which works out an average of a 4.91, and this is considered one of the better Walking Dead seasons. By critics, not by us.
Buddy.
I mean, The Walking Dead is averaging this season less than a 5 out of 10. That is shite.
No, but I'm going to assume that the average for the first half would be a bit more decent.
Yeah, there was only how many episodes in the first half? Well, I mean, there was 3 episodes in the first half that got a 5, and only 1 that got a 4, compared to the rest that got a 6, a 6.5, and a 7 and a 7. So yeah, the first half definitely delivered.
Yeah, first half I think was pretty good. Second half was below average, and I just don't really care for Alexandria. I think once the group get to Alexandria and it becomes a new like safe zone, and it's just boring. I think that's the downfall of The Walking Dead. Plus, when you get to Alexandria, that's when they really start introducing all these other groups that we just don't really care for. I like The Walking Dead when they were on the road and when they were in their own group. I don't really like it when they, I don't know, filter into these other big groups.
Aye, no, I know.
I mean, it's all right, Rick's group finding Herschel's farm and whatnot, and finding the prison, and adding a few members here and there. But when you take the group and you pretty much have Rick's group, and then by the time they get to Alexandria, you're doubling the group with half, like 50% of nobodies.
Yep.
And it's like you're watering it down. I think you need to be adding a few members at a time. But then you look at, like, after season 6, you've got all these different factions, like, the Hilltop, and then you get the Saviors, then you get the guy with the guy with the tiger, I forget what he's called, Commonwealth or whatever. It's just all these groups, and they're not adding one or two characters. They're literally adding, like, groups of 20 people at a time.
And you can't do that in a TV show.
No, I mean, you can't.
You need to add a group, right, and then just develop, like, 3 characters and have everyone else forgotten about.
Like, could you imagine, it's like, Sons of Anarchy, like, you imagine they just combine 2 charters into one, and then you've got your Redwood original, and the next minute you see the next, and there's 15 extra guys all piled in at the table, and you're supposed to keep, who are these 15?
You can't do it.
You know, you need to be adding people gradually, so...
Yep, you do, guys. But that's where we're going to end this. We're back with deaths and characters very soon, but the averages and all, that will be in the description, all that good stuff. So until next time, peace.